Hi there, I'm Shavik, and today's topic is what a Scrum Master should do when the team is not closing the retro action items on time. Well, say you are a Scrum Master and you are looking out for ways to spice up your retrospectives. Maybe want to sense the pulse of your team or gather ideas around one particular focus area. Well, there are like hundreds of techniques out there over the internet. You just browse through the different techniques. You just Google it, and then you choose the one which will suit your purpose. Yeah, maybe tweak it a bit to make it more aligned with your goal, and execute the same with your team. All set. Well, trust me, it is not. Retrospective is just over for you. It's not ended yet. Okay, so now suppose you just finished an awesome retrospective with your team, and a lot of good insights came out, and the team listed out a bunch of action items. Yeah, which this action items which is like bring in the real change within the team, right? But the real change only happens as a result of committed and steady effort. Yeah. So, and this real change for a Scrum Master begins now, right? Following up on the retrospective action plan is the hardest part. It is often challenging to keep the team motivated and focused on getting agreed upon action items done. Yeah. So I am not the only one who feels this way. During my interactions with my peers, my fellow Scrum Masters, both within and outside my organization, I get to hear similar concerns from them, right? And I believe this is because people feel frustrated when they are, because there is a consistent lack of follow through on retrospective action items. So normally the few of the techniques that Scrum Masters usually try out are like adding a couple of prioritized retrospective action items in their sprint backlog. Maybe if they're using a new tool like Jira or Azure DevOps, they create a normal PBI or one continuous improvement work item on their board and track it, right? So that's one of the way that normally Scrum Masters do it. The second way is like get the status of the retroaction items during the daily stand up. So maybe bringing up a who, what, when matrix, or maybe on some whiteboard or anything. So normally what the Scrum Master does is during the daily stand up, maybe before that or after that, they just quickly check on the retroaction items that were picked by the team member. And the other way, which is normally used by the Scrum Masters, are like creating a separate Kanban board to track the retrospective points. So it again may be on a electronic tool like Jira or Azure DevOps, or maybe on a whiteboard in a team space. So the idea is to make sure that the team is aligned and agreed on the next steps. Next steps, the action items were assigned with the deadlines, and if and if people are actually working on them and making some progress, right? Even if you ask me, I also tried this, and I feel that this works sometimes. It again depends on the teams, but this is not enough. So after all, like once we are out of retrospective, things change. The circumstances change. Priorities shift. Team members who actually took the action items, they're putting in extra hours to finishing their deliveries, or maybe taking up a production issue, or making an ad hoc presentation, or maybe attending hackathons, or going for full day trainings. So it can be anything, right? And in many a times it's generally accepted that people won't do everything they agreed in a meeting. So it's like a culture, the culture of the organization, the culture of the team. Though they commit something in the retro, it's maybe people accept that okay, this retroaction items will have a low priority. It's okay if even if we not do it or not complete it within a sprint, right? So this happens. People give lame excuses for not completing the action items. I kept on hearing statements like, I had too many meetings last week, or sometimes something else came up, some bugs came up, or someone pulled me in to work on this prod issue. So it's hard to oppose against these kind of culture, but I'm not saying it's not possible. It's definitely possible, and there is an opportunity for coaching here, right? So, well, I'll not get into the coaching part now. Maybe I'll park it for a later. But how we can tackle this situation, maybe we can discuss more on that, right? The challenge here for Scrum Master is to verify that the people are, completing their action items on time without coming across like a drill instructor or an interrogator. So we must be very cautious here. So What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you three steps, three simple, three-step simple technique, which will help you out. Help you out in following up on action items more effectively and without isolating your team members whose support you need. Right. So this steps are very simple, and that doesn't mean that they are not effective. Sometimes the most effective things are also the easiest to implement. And I hope you guys agree to that. Number one, guess success. So this is the name which I gave it to this technique or this step, guess success. So how we will do it is we will throw a question to the team after the retro gets over. Ask them the probability of an action items getting implemented. So how we can do it? So we will draw a scale on a flip chart, maybe on a whiteboard or a mural board or a Miro board in today's remote working days, and then label it. So label it like probability we will implement our action items, right? And then mark 0% on the left and 100% on the right. And then ask everyone to draw an emoticon, right, of their current mood on the sticky note and place the sticky note according to their confidence in the follow through as a team. So how it works is like, to give an example, suppose one of the point came up in retro that team is not moving around the PBIs on the board, right? Or not updating the status on a regular basis, and Scrum Master had to do it. Or maybe it's not keeping the latest view, or latest the board is not giving the latest view to the stakeholders. So the team understand, agreed upon, and they came up with an action item that in the upcoming sprint we will move the PBIs accordingly. Yeah. So now suppose when we do this exercise of guess success, say out of 60 member, four of them has given a smiley face and they put it on the 90% probability that team will do it. Okay, but that means the team is taking ownership. These four people are taking ownership. Now, then the two out of the 60 members, they have given the probability as 80%, with the one as a frowning face and one as a sad face. So now there is a it's giving a indication to the scrum master that okay, there's a chance that we can get into a discussion, right? So we can check with these people who has given this frowning face or the sad face. So they may say that okay, it seems to be an overhead for us, or no, we then didn't get much time to update the board because we have too much of work. So what we can do as a scrum master is we can have a discussion around this such interesting results where we have a low probability. Maybe someone has given 10% probability that this action items will be concluded or completed in the next sprint. So we can have a discussion around it, or a bad mood or a weird mood. Yeah. So how it's gonna help the team is the team will get engaged. The team will have a more discussion around that action packed items and the different perspectives the different team members think about that action item, and it will generate a sense of accountability and ownership around that particular action item. Step two, choose your ambassador. So we all know that the action items are for the team, right? The retrospective event and the action items coming out from the retro events, all are for the improvement of the team and improvement of the whole process. And it's actually for the team itself, right? It is a responsibility of the Scrum Master to make sure that the action items are addressed and executed. But without the help of team members, it's not possible, right? So Scrum Master may not be always around. That there can be chance, right? The Scrum Master may not be always around. So it's very important for the team to step in and take up the responsibility. So that's where the ambassador technique comes in handy. So, and as part of this technique, the team name one person within the team as the ambassador, or he or she is responsible for reminding the rest of the team about the agreements the team made or the action items the team owned during the retro meeting, right? So how it works is, at the end of retro, when everyone has selected or took ownership of one of the retro action items, so team would nominate someone to be the topic ambassador for each of these action plan, right? And this person is responsible for owning his or her action items and making sure that the team does everything it can to follow through on it, yeah, during the upcoming sprint. So let us understand it with an example. So I am giving an example which I tried it out in my one of my project earlier. So for that retro, we had a theme-based retro. So we had all the Scrum events listed out, and we uh, we just retrospect on how our events are going, with what are the good things that our events are having, what are the bad things, or how we can improve our events to make them more effective, and what was the understanding of the each people or each team member on those events. So that was a theme based retro that we had. And for the daily scrum, so one action item came up. So people came up with an issue that the daily scrum goes more than 15 minutes, sometimes goes till 30 minutes, right, half an hour. And then while doing a cost analysis or a fishbone diagram, we came out with the point like, okay, maybe the reason behind the daily scrum getting extended is team were discussing non-relevant points, or they get into the solutioning part, or they discuss more on one particular item for a long time. Yeah. So as a team, we agreed upon that let's not do that. Let's be to the point. Let's share our progress towards the sprint goal, and if anything else is there, we will ask the scrum master to take a note and keep it in the parking lot. And maybe once the 15 minutes gets over, or once everyone's is done with their sharing their progress report towards the sprint goal, we can take up the items from the parking lot, and the people who are not interested or not required on those discussion, they can get out of the call, right? Or maybe the people can split up and have separate calls as per the need basis. So that was the agreement, or one of the action items which came up. So now what happened is the team chose one. I introduced this ambassador technique here, and then team chose one fresher. So she was quite new in our team, and they chose her to be the ambassador for this particular retro action items. And then since she was new, I had to coach her. I told her what is she supposed to do over the next sprint. So what she does is, what she did is, during the next 2 weeks, whenever during the daily scrum, whenever the team gets deviated from what the agreement we made as a team during our retro, she is the one who raised the hand and stop, or interrupt, and saying that, okay, we are not supposed to discuss it here, or maybe we can talk it in the put it in the parking lot. This is not a place to do the solutioning. So she is the one who is raising her hand without any fear. Even she is stopping the senior developers, or the architects as well, and even the PO as well. And the PO tried to get into the status report kind of thing, she used to stop her as well. So that was really good. And since the team came up with this agreement, and team has chosen this person, they were not opposing her, right? And see, if I could have said that, they might, as a scrum master, they could have said that, okay, this is important, let us talk through it, let's break this this scrum rule doesn't make sense when it's stopping us to make progress towards our goal. So but when the team agreed upon something and they chose someone from them, it makes sense for them to stick to their agreement, right? So this is an excellent technique for catalyzing the real change following your retrospectives. Step 3, note to self. So how it works? Yeah. So ask everyone, everyone from the team to write a reminder for themselves about a change in their own behavior that they want to try to do in the next sprint. And this change has to be aligned with the retro action items, right? So it's quite a self-reflection, and is not normally shared with the group. But yeah, if any of the team member is open and wanted to share, as a scrum master, I used to let them share. Yeah. So that's one thing. And then what I do is, I ask them to take their sticky notes, and then stick it on their laptop screen, or put it in some place where they will look at it very often. So how it going to help, right? So writing a note and then reading a note later is a very powerful way to remind and then reflect upon something. And it actually helps the team members to foster their thoughts and reflections. I hope these 3 steps will give you plenty of ideas to help your follow up on your retrospective action plans, right? And you can use all 3 together, or maybe mix and match as per your needs. So one thing to understand here is, getting to a higher level of completion on action items, it leads to not only the exponential progress towards the goal, but also provides a tremendous sense of accomplishment, both to the scrum masters and for the whole team. Keep learning, keep exploring. Cheers.